So the next scientist I'm about to introduce, Dr. Samuel Enchi, an extraordinary scientist working for Mayo, and his research is focused on understanding individual biological differences and how they interact with lifestyle factors to influence the risk of cancers. And Dr. Samuel Enchi, if I decide to go on and list all the accolades to describe you and your work, probably this meeting will extend to Monday morning. So I'll pause here and let you take the mic.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I would like to share my slides. So great, can you see the slides?
Yes.
Excellent. So I'm a cancer epidemiologist at Mayo Clinic. My research is focused mainly on pancreas and liver cancer. I was trained in genetic epi, but I also study how genetics and lifestyle factors interact to influence cancer risk. And I've had opportunity to read this book. I was one of the few people that Dr. Kwabi had actually shared copies with, and I've read from cover to cover. I've actually bought another copy for myself to read from time to time. And when I was reading the book, I asked myself a few questions. And the very first question I asked myself was, why is this book important? Why is this book important? So I came up with three main reasons why I think this book is important. The first one is that it helps us understand how diet influences our risk for developing chronic diseases. How diet, the food we eat, actually can modulate our risk for developing chronic diseases. Second impression I had about the book is that it is deeply informed by solid scientific evidence. It is not somebody's opinion, but rather science evidence that is actually leading to the conclusions in this book. Finally, I think the author did a great job by providing specific examples on how we can use diet to improve our health, live gracefully, and increase our longevity. So those are some of the initial impressions I had about the book. Now I want to take you on a little bit of a journey, research journey, show you what some of the work that led to the book, some of the previous work that was done that led to the book. And I want to start all the way from King Nebuchadnezzar. Some of you may know him from the Bible. We go to another gentleman known as James Lind, father of clinical trials, and another gentleman known as Austin Flint, who is considered, he came up with the term placebo. Basically, they did the initial research work. They didn't know they were doing research at the time, but they actually informed scientific methods of research that culminated into various biomedical research studies, some of which have been summarized very brilliantly in this book. So I'll take you on a very, very short journey on what some of these people contributed to research and how that has impacted this book. So let me start with King Nebuchadnezzar. I believe most of you already have heard of King Nebuchadnezzar. We already know King Nebuchadnezzar was a Babylonian ruler. He conquered Jerusalem on 2 occasions. He actually destroyed Solomon's temple. He captured a lot of Jews in Jewish history. It's referred to as the Babylonian captivity. And basically, when he captured the Jews, he decided to do something. He wanted to select from the Jews young men who were physically able. They didn't have any blemish at all, either mental or physical, and they had great aptitude for learning. So he wanted to select these men. He wanted to train them so that they would serve in the king's palace. So he selected these men, and from among the men were 4 gentlemen who decided to be vegetarians. We have Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They decided to be vegetarian. The king had prescribed for them to eat mainly meat and wine. They were going to eat a daily ration of meat and wine. But Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego decided, no, we're not going to eat the king's food. We want to be vegetarians and drink water, eat vegetables and drink water. So they came into a negotiation with the person who was taking care of them, and they said, well, just give us 10 days. Let's feed on vegetables and water, and then assess us compared to the other gentlemen who were eating meat and wine, and see which of us is more healthier. And when after the 10 days, they realized that actually Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were much healthier and were very well nourished compared to those who were eating meat and wine. So that was one of the initial evidence to show that diet can actually improve our health. We can actually use diet to modulate our health. The next gentleman, James Lind, is considered the father of clinical trials. Some people refer to him as the Hippocrates of naval medicine. Hippocrates is considered the father of medicine. That is why the medical doctors have to take the Hippocratical oath not to do any harm. But basically, he was a Scottish physician. He served in the Royal Navy. And while in the Royal Navy, he realized that some of the men in his contingent were having some illnesses, and he couldn't tell what the illness was. There was no name for it. Later on, we came to know the illness we called scurvy. We didn't know what the cause was, but he decided to do an experiment. And he selected 12 men who were having scurvy. He divided them into two groups. One group was, basically the two groups were treated the same. In every aspect, they were treated the same. They lived under the same conditions, treated the same. The only difference is that one group was given lemon and oranges and the other group were not. So after some time, he realized that those who were given lemon and oranges were actually cured of their illness. That was one of the initial clinical trial studies that was done in medical history. He didn't know what he was doing at the time, but that experiment led to drug discovery and treatment improvements over the years. And the work that was done here, I believe, was very aptly summed up by Hippocrates. I think Dr. Kwabi Addo also made reference to this when he was speaking. He said, "Let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine thy food." In essence, if you let your food become your medicine, if you are careful on the food choices, you have very little interaction with the healthcare system. You prolong your life, live long, and live healthier. So we should all learn to let our food be our medicine. The final person that I want to discuss is a gentleman by name Austin Flint. He introduced the term placebo. Placebo basically is no treatment at all. Usually in clinical trials, you have one group who are given a particular treatment and the other group will be given no treatment at all. They'll be given something that resembles a treatment, but it has no active ingredients in it, will not have any health consequences. So he did an experiment using this placebo, and he described placebo as an epithet given in any medicine that it appears to do something good to the person, but does no harm. What we learned from Dr. Austin Flint is that there is a great potential for us to do good. We also have potential to do harm, and doing nothing is harmful. How does this relate to this? Well, from the book, we've learned a lot of things about how to improve our lifestyle and our health. And if we just read it for reading's sake without translating that into improved health behaviors, then we've learned nothing. So it is important that we do something about what we learn from reading this book. Throughout the book, Dr. Kwabi Addo described various dietary patterns, some of which he mentioned in his initial talk. He mentioned about the Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet, the ketogenic diet, and plant-based diet. Essentially, Mediterranean diets are diets that are rich in fruits, vegetables, you have grains, you have seeds, you have nuts, you have fish from which you get a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, and you have olive oil. You get polyunsaturated fatty acids from olive oil as well. So that is the Mediterranean diet. We also have the DASH diet, similar to the Mediterranean diet. They said that here you have some sweets and you have some fats incorporated in it, as well as low-fat dairy products. And then we have the ketogenic diet, high fat, moderate protein, low carbohydrate diet. And then we have the vegetarian and then the vegan diet. They are mainly the plant-based diet. With a vegetarian, you can have some eggs and cheese and milk, but with a vegan, you don't eat any animal products at all. And he described this very, very carefully throughout the book. And the health consequences, various research that has been done studying these dietary patterns and how they influence our health. He's done a lot of biomedical research in this area. He summarized it very brilliantly in the book, talks about how these biological processes by which these diets can actually contribute to improve health or bad health. And it's important that we take our time to read this, see how we can incorporate various things that he describes in the book about physiological states, how we can alter our physiological states with the food we eat, and how we can leverage that to improve our health and live gracefully. So Check the Facts actually has done a great deal of work by summarizing large number of findings into a very simple, easy to carry book that you can read in a week or so, just so you can gather a lot of information to improve your own health. In conclusion, I just want to provide some of my impressions of reading the book. After reading cover to cover, I thought it's very brilliant. It's a brilliantly insightful book that draws from a lot of biomedical research studies that have been done for many, many, many years. and it is interpreted by an expert who actually understands it. Some people read research and misinterpret it. He's got specific training in this area, and he interprets it very brilliantly. So that's one of the good benefits of this particular book. He also draws from his own personal experiences from this book. He draws from his experiences in living in Ghana, living in the UK, living in Houston, Texas, and Virginia, and how the various environments have altered his own body weight and what he's doing currently to maintain his weight. It's actually a very interesting read. And if you know Dr. Kwabena Addo personally, you realize that he writes as he speaks. You can hear his voice in the writing. He writes with razor sharp wisdom. There's frankness in the book, and there's a great deal of humanity that is expressed through our reading of the book. He has a very unique blend of warmth, of humor, and kitchen table storytelling. When you get up when you come home from work and you are at the kitchen with your spouse and you are discussing your days, and that comes some warmth and fuzziness, and you get all those feelings in reading this book. I think the world needs this book, especially those of us who have migrated from Africa all the way to the United States and have adapted the Western lifestyle. Even in Africa, it's becoming westernized, where we have McDonald's and all those restaurants. But we need this book to get back on track. We need to improve our health. We only have one health, right? We need to take full control of our health. We don't get a second chance. So this is a book that can actually help us improve our health, age gracefully, and live longer. And I would like to conclude by quoting a sentence from the book. It said, "Those who think they have no time to eat a healthy diet will sooner or later have time to treat their illnesses. It is better to eat than pop pills." I leave you with this quotation. Think about it carefully. We have a lot in our hands. By reading this book, I think I do research in this area. And there was a time I told my spouse I'm reading, I told my wife I was reading just 1 hour and go to bed. I found myself reading 2-3 hours later because it was new information that I didn't know. And it has improved my own life. I've decided to pay more attention just by reading this and getting the reminder of how I can leverage the wisdom in this book to improve my health. So I leave you with this quote, and I hope you consider this very thoughtfully. Thank you very much for your time.